Welcome to the All the Stuff podcast, where we jam about money, clutter, and food, and the real stuff under this stuff. Join me, Lisa Carpenter, your resident food coach, along with my co-hosts, money coach Jen Turrell and clutter coach Lisa Sharp, as we help you release what's weighing you down and heal your relationship with food, money, and clutter from the inside out.
Hi, and welcome to today's episode of All the Stuff. I am Jen Turrell, here with my co-host Lisa Carpenter, the nutrition ninja, and Lisa Sharp, space healer and clutter coach. I'm our resident money coach here, and today we're going to talk about willpower versus systems, and how a lot of times we rely on willpower, and willpower alone can sometimes fail us. But with all of our areas, figuring we'll just power through it without planning and without setting up systems to help us get there can make things tough. So, you know what? How about we start with the food part of it? Because I think that's one of the toughest things that people think they can use willpower to just eat the right things, and then they open the fridge, there's nothing there, and they order a pizza, right?
Exactly. And we're going into February. So like January's passed. So any willpower you did have is starting to wane if it's not already gone. And yeah, like willpower, so many people punish themselves because, you know, why don't I have the willpower? They see other people having willpower. And willpower is like trying to steer an elephant, right? So I think it was in the book called Switch by Skip and Dan Heath. I don't know if you guys have ever read that book. It's a really fantastic book. But it's all about, you know, changing your mindset. But so if willpower is like the elephant and then you got this little dude on top trying to steer the elephant, right? The little dude will have control for only so long. And then eventually the elephant is just going to take over. And that's kind of what happens with willpower. We're constantly tapping into our willpower resources all day, every day with all the choices that we're having to make. So when it comes to our food, leaving it up to willpower, you will never lose weight or gain control of your food if you're using willpower as your main strategy. So you'll perpetually put yourself in this feeling like you're failing over and over and over again. And people don't really understand that, right? So you can do something for a short amount of time, but if you want to sustain it long term, you really have to look at building systems around your food. As much as like you guys have heard my pushback around systems. But that, in essence, is what I teach inside my EAT program, is how do we break this down? How do we create systems so you don't have to think about it all the time because it becomes second nature? And as much as people hate food logs, right? Like I can practically hear our listeners groaning like, oh my God, food logs. When you actually do a food log, and a food log is something you do in advance. It's not something that you write down at the end of the day. Like that may be where you start. But in order to create success, you have to actually write the food log at the beginning of the day. It doesn't mean that you can't change your mind, right? Like quite often I'll have a plan and I'll say, you know, I'm going to change this. So if I'm looking at my business, I may have written down the 3 things that I need to get done today. Something may come up that needs my attention, in which case I need to change that plan. But ultimately, I'm going back to my book and looking at my plan, which means I'm not relying on my memory or my willpower to do the things that I need to do. So food logs are not a punishment. Systems around food are not a punishment. They actually will free up a lot more bandwidth in your brain so that you can do other things and ultimately create the success that you want, whether it's weight loss, living healthier, whatever it may be. So willpower. Yes. This is one of the reasons why I don't compete anymore in fitness or figure, because it takes a tremendous amount of willpower and it's so taxing on me to stay so disciplined. It impacts all other areas of my life so much because I literally have nothing left to bring to the table as a parent, as a coach, because it's just like, this is all there's room for. And that's not how I want to live my life anymore. So, you know, with everything I teach, there's systems. There are those days where you do have to kind of, you know, willpower comes into play if you're getting cravings and maybe you need to hold strong for that moment so you can reach out and connect with somebody and get the support you need. But ultimately it comes down to having having a plan if you want to become successful and not relying on willpower or beating yourself up because you don't have it.
Well, I think a good point, too, is I've seen some studies in some of these books, like The Power of Habit, and I've read a few on, I think there was one just called Willpower, too. Mm-hmm. They talk about decision fatigue, and throughout the day, all the decisions you make. And the reason a lot of us make those poor food decisions, and often poor financial decisions by buying things online late at night when you're scrolling, we've used up our reservoir of willpower by the time we get to the end of that day. And also coming in from work, you're tired, you throwing things around the house, just letting things go, not unloading the dishwasher, not unloading the grocery bags, things like that. You've had so much happen all day long and you just get exhausted. Lisa Sharp, do you want to talk about this some too?
Yeah, I think it's a great topic because I really believe that having too many choices is really a big problem. It's the paradox of choice, right? It's the more choices that you have, the less likely you are to make a decision. So we abdicate decisions until we get into crisis mode, and then we use that as our excuse. Oh, screw it, I'm just going to order the pizza. Oh, forget it, I'm just going to go buy another thing. Oh, whatever. So it's really interesting because we all kind of have been marketed to in such a way that the more choices we have, the better. The more happy we'll be, the more freedom we'll have. It's marketing. It's not actually accurate. It's not actually true. But we've really been sold that so hard, I think we believe it. And so, like walking into the mall, it's like, oh, look at all these choices. And we kind of get like that, endorphin hit. But then we also can get really stuck and frozen. And when you are, like I said, you get stuck and frozen, you end up just making decisions just to make a decision. It's not because it's well thought out. It's not because it's planned. It's not because it's for the greater good of your personal life. It's just because you have to just make a damn decision, right? So like my husband this morning, this is a great example of not planning. So we had some extra stuff to do this morning that we don't normally have to do. We had a parent-teacher conference, and my husband he's in the middle of a big work thing right now, so he's feeling really stressed out. So what happens when we're really stressed out? We're not good at making decisions, right? Because that part of our brain is just like working like mad, trying to deal with a stress situation and trying to problem solve. If you're trying to problem solve this big hunk of whatever, and then you're trying to make all these little decisions, you can start making crazy little decisions, and then those add up financially, clutter-wise, weight-wise, etc. Stress-wise, adds to our stress. So anyway, so he's like, I could see it happening. We've been together long enough. He's like, oh, I just don't have anything to eat today. Meaning, like, I didn't eat breakfast. I'm about to leave for work. I'm already late. I haven't planned out my lunch, and I don't even know what I'm going to have for dinner. So I was like, he made himself he's a vegetarian, so he made like these fancy beet sandwiches last night. I know that sounds really gross, but they're actually pretty good. So I was like, okay, so how about if you can just do leftovers and I'll cook something else for the kids, because that's not the way that I eat. But that meal's taken care of. Why don't you? He's like, oh, actually, I have something at work that I could just eat that for lunch. And I was like, okay. And it's like, what can you do for breakfast, and figure out a snack. So like within literally, it took 60 seconds to dial that back, to sort of screw it. I'm just going to do whatever, because I could see it in his head. He's like, I'm going to Chipotle for lunch, and we're going to order a pizza for dinner. I mean, it was like, because he's like stressed out, right? Mm-hmm. And so we all do this. I don't mean to be picking on my lovely husband. It was just really funny to me because it was that lack of planning. And so then it's sort of the just do whatever is easiest. So if we set up, and he had a good laugh over that, because it's like, okay, 60 seconds later, and now you have food choices that you'll be really happy with by the end of the day. So it's forecasting instead of, going back at the end of the day and going like, oh, I can't believe, I ate the Cheetos and I had a Coke. This is no fun. I don't want to do this anymore. I hate doing this. But like forecasting it when you have, you're in the mindset where you can actually make good decisions because you haven't been overwhelmed with a million decisions, and doing the boring thing. We are so sucked into this idea, this story, that if we don't have a bunch of choices, it'll be boring. Oh, the food's going to be boring. Oh, my house is going to be boring. I'm not going to get to spend any money. It's going to be boring. It's like, that's just one modality. You know, and actually, the fewer choices that we have in life, the more creative and innovative we become. Some of the coolest things that have happened in terms of invention in humanity were because we had like pretty much nothing. And so people just had to like figure it out, noodle it out. Like what sort of resources do you have and how do you get from here to here? And we're so reliant on the quick fix, the quick meal, the quick stuff that it's actually a disservice. I think we get more and more disconnected from ourselves when we don't get a chance to tap into that, because that's when you feel really alive, when you're like, I did that. I figured that out. I fixed that. I created that, whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like we're short circuiting this sense of pleasure, and we're doing it under the guise of, I hate planning. Planning is boring. Having few choices is really boring. So.
Yeah. Keep it simple and easy, right? Like you guys have heard me say how many times, I don't like to cook. I'm not a cook. I keep things super simple. So, prep for me is simple. Throwing things together is simple, because I don't want to have to think about things. I don't want to have to figure out how to put together a fancy meal. It doesn't mean that I don't like to go and have those meals from time to time, but in my life every day, I would be exhausted if I was trying to come up with fancy meals, and it doesn't need to be that way. So, choice is a really interesting thing because it's something that I really empower my clients to make, which, Lisa, about, and Jen, you're going to be learning about. But always at the beginning, I'm bringing people back to do the same thing over and over and keep it simple. So find the things that you really love to eat, like pick your proteins that you really love to eat, and keep repeating them until you've kind of nailed the pattern. And then once that feels comfortable, then add in a few more proteins that you really like, or whatever, carbohydrates, fats, whatever module it is they're working on. But when we slow down and we take the time to learn and create those systems and nail down our choices, that's when everything gets easier around our foods. And avoiding creating systems around our food, because like Lisa said, we're in this we just don't want to take the time to do it. It's way easier to just go out and order pizza. This is what keeps us in that perpetual kind of dieting loop and looking for the next best thing, right? The next thing
that I can buy.
That you can buy, because you don't actually want to take responsibility for setting up your systems that are going to work for you. One of the reasons I struggled with my money for so long, and you guys both know this, our listeners know this, is because I was unwilling to set up the systems and automate things so that it was off my plate. So of course my bills were paid late. Why? Because I was relying on myself to remember when to pay them. Like I would open them, maybe, look at them, maybe. Now I get them. Like when I sit down to open my bills, I open them, I pay them. It doesn't matter when they're due. They get paid because there's a ritual around it now. And a lot of stuff in my life is automated around my money as well, which you guys both know. And it just means I don't have to think about it anymore. So guess what? My financial situation has improved dramatically because it's more systematized. But I resisted it for so long because, the stories I had was it would be no fun. I'd have no money to spend. It would be too I didn't want to live by the rules. That was a big thing for me, right? I'm the rebel. I don't want the rules. Whereas I didn't even realize the rules. I get to set the rules. I get to break the rules. They're my boundaries, right? If I decide tomorrow I don't want to automate my bills, I don't have to. If I decided next month I didn't want to pay them, I don't have to. That's the power of choice, right? If you want to eat a chocolate bar, go eat the frickin' chocolate bar. But for the most part, when
there are consequences.
There are consequences. But when you know and understand and realize how important learning and creating those systems for yourself, that's really when you find that true freedom. And isn't that what everybody wants? A certain amount of freedom financially, freedom from clutter, right? Freedom from their wrestling match with food. To me, that's what living your life is. It's not feeling like you're constantly in this battle of wills with yourself, right? Or the battle of the willpower.
Well, I think that's what you just said about automating your money. That's the main thing that I help people with, is figuring out what'll work for them. And then I think all of these areas that we're talking about often are unpleasant for people. It's unpleasant to make all of the financial decisions. Some of them are pleasant. Buying things makes you feel good. You get that endorphin hit. Paying bills, paying credit card bills, paying debt, paying interest. That usually doesn't feel that good. But I think that's the part that you can systematize is setting up, the automatic bill pay, having your bill pay account where you know how much is going to go out each month, setting up so it's automatic and you just check it. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to make the decision to pay the bills if they're already automated. It's always good to check the accounts to make sure nothing's going wrong. There are bank errors, there are fraudulent charges, things like that you should look for. But having it in a system already so that it's going out no matter what, you know you're not going to get late fees. You know you're not going to get overdraft as long as you have your, overdraft notifications set up and you know what's in there. And I think I've struggled more with doing that kind of thing for both food and the house because there isn't this nice bill pay system for food. Like I do still have to figure out what the family as well as myself wants to eat during the week. But I have made some shifts using my crock pot more, cooking the protein ahead of time, boiling a bunch of eggs so that I have lunch stuff, always having some kind of canned or smoked fish on hand just in case I forget everything else and don't have something fresh. Then I'm like, oh, well, at least I can have the smoked trout for lunch or, that having a few things on hand that feel good. Actually, Lisa, because I'm in Lisa's program now, the EAT program, but I've not gone through it yet. How do you feel about canned fish? Are canned fishes okay?
Yeah.
They're fresh. Okay. Just checking. That's
It'll be a medium. So
Okay.
there's a whole system you're going to learn around the colors of your protein and how to kind of, put them into different categories so that you can really make decisions that are going to fit you. There's room for everything.
But I feel like as long as I have certain things on hand, it's easier for me to make the better decision. And it's true, my husband and I have had this talk about bread lately because I spent most of my life being a sourdough addict. Like as a kid, they called me the sourdough kid because of how much I loved sourdough bread.
That's amazing.
So that's always been a bit of a struggle, but Stu and I were talking the other day. Miffy really likes to have sandwiches for lunch, so we try to have bread around. But there's some days where, again, not to pick on the husband too much, but if there's not a lot of other things he wants to eat, sometimes I'll be like, where did half the loaf of bread go? And I'll be like, well, I had toast with breakfast and then I made a sandwich. And, and I'll be like, that was 6 slices of bread or 7 slices of bread are gone. And to him, if it's not there, he doesn't miss it at all. He's fine eating other things, but if it's there, it's hard. So that's been one of the things we're kind of wrestling with is getting things out of the house that are too easy of a bad decision. And also systems, we're switching. Lisa Sharp, I should take you around our house soon to show you, since you and I last talked, we're switching 2 major areas of our house. The kids' playroom, which used to be out here, is now my husband's studio and office. We're putting their playroom up on that side of the house. But in doing that, we're kind of talking about which things, when stuff enters the house, that's another thing we struggle with a lot is we're trying to get our kids to always put your boots away, especially right now in the winter, hang up your backpacks, pull your homework out and put it on the table where we're going to do it before dinner, kind of setting up those systems too, just so, because I can easily forget that my kids have homework because they're just in elementary school and it's still in the beginnings of homework. And then mail too. My husband often brings it in from the outside now with me working in the house. So there are times where I'm like, did you get the mail? Where did it go? Having that place where it always goes. Yeah. So we have this systematized flow of stuff so we don't lose things. And I kind of think of all of these things, setting up the auto pays, trying to have the proteins around. It's kind of like a present to my future self, the present to myself when I'm stressed and hungry and don't know what to eat, or when I don't want to have to run around the house finding important mail that should have come but I can't find it. If I figure that out ahead of time, it's the presence to me when I'm not at my best, when I'm tired and cranky and just need it there.
Yeah. The bottom line is, and I know Lisa knows this, and nobody's going to want to hear this, but you have to do the things you don't want to do. Like, there's no way to get around it. There's no way of getting around the discomfort that is going to come with doing the things you don't want to do. And you really need to do those things first. So stop putting them at the bottom of the pile and lean into this idea of doing those things first, being willing to be comfortable, being uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good when you set up new systems. Like, it's not like the confetti rains from the sky and you're like, it feels so great, I've automated everything. It doesn't really work that way. There's just, even with paying my bills, it took a while for me to be like, I'd sit down with all of them and I would still feel the anxiety as I was paying them because it was new for me. When my clients food log, a lot of resistance comes up for them because it's new for them. food prep. Oh my goodness, the resistance I see around food prep. Again, because it's new, they have to change other patterns in their lives to support them. So when we're trying to change things that aren't working for us, that is like the familiar discomfort, right? Like we don't like how we feel, but it's familiar. So, I had a coach say to me once that our comfort zone isn't really comfortable at all. It's just familiar. Yeah. And what I'm asking people to do is we want to create a new familiar, but it's going to be really uncomfortable on the road to getting there, right? So when Lisa first started my program, there was a lot of discomfort, and now she can probably name off all the different categories like the back of her hand. It doesn't require a lot of thinking. So anytime she's out and about, she can literally just like boom, boom, boom. And that's how I eat as well. That's how a lot of my clients eat as well, because it's just second nature. Jen, I bet you could name off like 5 different ways people could systematize their money like off the back of your hand, because that's your jam, right? And Lisa can, in terms of organizing, we've even got stuff in our own house now that's like second nature that didn't used to be. But when we started it, I didn't like it. I'm like, it's declutter day again. Why do we have to do this? Now I'm like, is it declutter day yet? When is declutter day? Can we? Yeah.
Every day is declutter day.
But you know what? Say this, going back to this, doing the things you don't want to do and doing them first. Yeah, it's so true. I actually said to Macy the other day, I need you to acknowledge the fact that there isn't an endless pile of clothes at the end of our bed, because I get undressed and everything lies there until the pile gets so big, and then I put everything away. And I've been forcing myself every day, just hang up your clothes, Lisa, hang up your clothes, so that it's becoming second nature. But the little girl inside me is still having the tantrum. The little girl who, loved the messy room because that was her space and her stuff, and don't tell me what to do. Yeah, I want my clothes on the ground.
Right, and you can leave your clothes on the floor. I mean, everybody gets to do whatever it is that they want to do. But we also need to be looking at how stressed out we are because of the way that we are doing things. It's like we're not willing to put in the short-term discomfort or perceived pain of setting up these systems, when in fact, most of these systems don't take that much time or effort or thought or energy. This is why I'm such a massive proponent of using timers for freaking everything. If there's something you hate doing, if it's working out, if it's cleaning out your closet, if it's automating your finances, give yourself a time limit. Say, I'm going to work on this for 15 minutes. After that, I'm scot-free. And if you do that enough times, it'll be done. And we spend so much time. I am totally talking to myself here. Yes.
I like 25 minutes. I do 25-minute chunks with my Pomodoro app.
I use Pomodoro too. And I have been tracking my time for business tasks. So I've been using Toggle, TOGGL.com, which I really recommend to our listeners. It's really a cool little app, and it's free. You can get a paid version of it, but I don't think you really need to unless you fall in love with it. And wanted to do more fancy reports and that sort of thing. But anyway, so the whole idea of Toggle is just that you are tracking your activities throughout the day. So I've been doing this for the last 5 weeks, and it has been really illuminating, because I would sit there and there's especially when I'm doing computer work for my business, there's this little glowing red thing in the corner that's tracking my time. And I'd be like, when I first started, I was like, oh, I'm going to work on this project. Oh my God. And I'd finally make myself work on it, and I'd get like 80% of it done. And I look over at the app, and it was like, it took 17 minutes. Oh, I've been like psyching myself out and not doing this thing for like 6 weeks, and it took me 17 minutes to complete it. Okay. So I'm 45. I have to learn this lesson pretty much weekly, like it's probably not going to take you as much time and effort. And the angst of having these things hanging over our heads is way worse than the pain of actually just making some small changes.
I think an interesting thing about time tracking, because I've been doing it lately, but I've been using this, my 90-day year thing, and I'll mark off my 15-minute increments and track the time over here. It's a little complicated, this one. But I feel like it's very much like food blogging in that my decisions about what I do are different because I'm tracking it. So once I write down, I am working on this project right now, I do it. Whereas before I would sit down at my desk, email, what's happening? Okay, let me post something on social media. Oh, what's that? Oh,
that's an article. I read that article.
Oh yeah, I should probably read this because my audience, I might, I might share it or something. Rabbit hole time. Whereas if I'm doing a task and I track it as that, sometimes I want to see how fast I can get it done.
Exactly.
So then I'm like, okay, I definitely don't want to get distracted. My problem with Toggle was sometimes I would put it down, I would reduce it, and then I would forget to change it when I switched tasks. So sometimes I'd be like, it says I'm still doing something I was doing an hour ago, which is why I'm doing the color in the 15-minute increment. It seems overkill to color in something every 15 minutes, but it keeps me very aware of, okay, I've now worked on this for an hour and a half.
Right.
I need to get this done. Let's get it done already. But yeah, even tracking your time, it makes you really aware of how much, and I have planning times that I write in there. Like, this is me planning out what I'm doing for the rest of the week. On Monday, I have a planning time. And then it helps me put it in my calendar in between the appointments that I have. I put this amount of, these 4 15-minute increments are going to go to this thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
It's just, it's all of these systems make life easier and really put things into focus. Like, what am I saying that I want, and what am I actually doing? And bringing that awareness up. What?
Well, when I think about tracking my time all day, I seriously, I'm listening to you guys, I'm having anxiety about it.
Really?
Yeah, it's like tracking my time. So not interested in doing that. I have now started scheduling Facebook Live has to be scheduled in. Yeah. And things have to be scheduled in, but I go on this is what I need to get done today. It doesn't matter how long it takes me, as long as this gets done, I'm out. But for me, because of and I don't know if it's because of my trying to turn down the volume on my overachiever, it's kind of like in the gym, right? Yeah. Too much tracking of stuff can lead to crazy making for Lisa. Yeah. So it's when I hear you guys talking about tracking your time, I'm just like,
well, it's kind of like money.
Yet.
And not that you have to do
we don't.
Time. I think just like for food or for money, it's interesting to see what we think we do with our time and our money and our food, and what we actually do with our time, our money, and our food.
It's so true.
And actually, moving those 2 rooms, it seemed like a huge job because both rooms are really big and have a lot of stuff in them. Yeah. But again, once we just did it, one of the things was we have a ballet mirror in the kids' playroom, and we're moving it, and it's an 8-foot mirror.
Yeah, that's such
I know, a ridiculous thing. But once you dedicate, today I am doing this, we're moving the ballet mirror today. You get it done. It doesn't actually take that long. It's just a big thing that you need a couple people, and I'm afraid of breaking it on the stairs. I have to go upstairs. But, yeah. So for ages, I kept putting that bit off, being like, oh my God, I can't move it by myself. But now that we haven't installed it yet upstairs. It is sitting off the wall down here because I need my husband to help me do it. But yeah, the rest of it, I was like, I need to wait until I have a day with a whole day to move these 2 rooms. Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Even moving a whole house, you schedule it in. When you move a whole house, you have a date you have to have it moved by, and you make it. It happens.
Right. Yep.
So anyways, I think we're getting a little long on this episode, aren't we? So let's wrap it up by saying that relying on willpower alone can be very, very difficult. Setting up systems is like a gift to yourself. If you need help, systems with your money, systems with your house, with your clutter, with your stuff, or systems with your food, we have ways we can help. You can go to each of our websites. We'll put links. Right?
Yeah. It is open for registration now, so you can head over to the sales page if you want to learn more. That's lisacarpenter.ca/EAT. And I will start teaching live again in March. So it's a great time to sign up because then you'll get the live coaching calls starting in March.
And Lisa Sharp and I are both in there. I'm going to be doing a live run this time.
Keeping it real in there.
I'm just going to hang out with all of us.
Yeah. I decided I'm ready. Actually, this is something I put off, is actually learning. I was one of those people who came to Lisa Carpenter, was like, can you just make me up some meal plans and some shopping lists? That's what I need. I don't want to have to learn things. But the meal plans and shopping lists, I've gotten them before. I've downloaded them off of, the internet, and they have never fixed me knowing what I should eat and what will make me feel good and
Time for some systems around food.
Yeah. Sorry?
Time for some systems around your food.
Yeah, so now that's one of the things I'm doing this year, building my food systems.
All right. So head over to iTunes and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review so other people can find us. And by all means, share it with your friends, your family, strangers on the street.
And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to our channel and leave us a comment below. We'd love to hear what you think about systems and willpower and what you do in your own life.
Oh, yeah. And come on over to our free Facebook group where you can come over, and we're talking about all of these things and more. And we are also giving updates about our upcoming retreat that will be the All the Stuff retreat, I believe, in either September or October of 2017. We're so excited, and we'd love to have you there.
And it's like every time we say it, we commit to it.
Yeah, that's right. We're doing it for real.
We're doing it. Crazy.
See you guys next time.
Bye. Bye. Hello, all the stuff viewers and listeners. Lisa Carpenter here, your resident food coach. And today I want to extend a very special invitation to a free 3-part masterclass series that I'm running on how to lose weight and keep it off. And I'm going to be digging into topics such as why willpower never works for creating lasting weight loss and the tools that you're missing to create that lasting change. We're also going to talk about how to curb your cravings and gain control of your emotional eating. I know this is something that plagues so many of you. We're also going to talk about foods that create radical transformation in your body, not just physically, but also emotionally. And we're going to get into all the kind of nitty-gritty proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and how you can kind of put them all together to create your own nutritional blueprint. It's going to be great fun. I'm super excited to be delivering this content, and we kick off on February 14th. So I would love to have you register. You can find the sign-up page at lisacarpenter.ca/masterclass. I've also included the links down below. Again, we start February 14th, and I would love to see you there.